Now they tell me I paid my debt to society. Funny, I never got my check. This is Rebooty and the Beast, a podcast in 2 parts. I'm Matt Molinaro.
And I'm Ed Burke. In the first episode, we review an original piece of media, and in the second, we discuss the reboot. And we are on the reboot today.
We are. Hallelujah.
I did not know that this even was not the original, as I said last week when we watched the true original. So, interesting that it was a reboot of the 1960s Ocean's 11.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them now, I guess. There's Ocean's 11, there's Ocean's 12, there's, I think, a 13, and there is
I think so.
8.
Yeah, that sounds right.
8 is the all-female cast, I believe.
Oh, fun. Okay. Interesting. Well, We're stopping here. This is the end of the road for Oceans.
Oh, End of the Road. I love that Boyz II Men song.
Okay,
this is not the end of the road for Oceans in general. Oceans are great.
Well, I mean, hey. This is 2001, and it stars Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Bernie Mac, Elliot Gould, a bunch of other people.
Julia Roberts.
Matt
Damon. Don Cheadle.
Oh, yeah, Matt Damon. Yeah.
Galore. It's star-studded.
Yeah. Do you want to do the quick plot summary?
Yeah, definitely. And this was your first time seeing it?
Yeah, I'd never seen it before.
How fun. Okay, I had seen this before, but this was a long time coming, so I was not sure what to expect. Plot summary, you'll recognize some of the names. Danny Ocean, a gangster. Can we stop there for a second? Do we need... This is like...
Also, calling George Clooney a gangster it's a bit of a reach.
It's a stretch. And also, just the way this is written. What grade? What grade was this student in? Danny Ocean, comma, a gangster, comma, rounds up a gang. Goodbye. Rounds up a gang of associates to stage a sophisticated and elaborate casino heist, which involves robbing 3 Las Vegas casinos simultaneously during a popular boxing event. Run-on sentence alert.
All right.
Okay, already we could see we have a more reasonable heist situation than the first.
There's no 5 casinos this time.
No, and we'll come to find out it's even more reasonable, in scale to the first one, for sure.
Yeah.
5 in one night.
Yeah. So it starts off with George Clooney being released from prison and being interviewed. He's Daniel Ocean, and he's basically being, it seems like, reviewed for parole. Mm-hmm. He has kind of a funny back and forth with the parole officers, and says he fell into a bad habit because his wife left him. And they're like, is it a chance you'll fall into a bad habit again? And he's like, well, my wife can only leave me once. So
he's very the whole movie.
Yeah.
Very quick.
He's very, very George Clooney, very sardonic, very
Nespresso.
Sure. I think, okay, the movie starts out in New Jersey, right?
Yes! I was like, shut up, North Jersey.
I knew you would be thrilled by that.
Yes, also, I was like, okay, North Jersey prison.
I did not know that Atlantic City was in New Jersey. I don't know where I thought it was.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. We haven't gone actually since we moved back, and it's been years. But it's down the shore, and I love Atlantic City. It's like a very, very mini Vegas, very mini.
It's really just like casinos and stuff, right? Like it's not like a family attraction.
There is a boardwalk, and it does have rides, but most of it, and there's like family stuff to do. Like people go to Atlantic City with their families too, but it's in the same way a family could find stuff to do in Vegas.
Yeah, okay.
There's many other places down the shore around Atlantic City where families probably would go, but I like Atlantic City. It's very much what you see in shows and TV. Like, it's very much that, but it's a vibe.
I kind of get the sense that it's a little bit run down. That's the vibe I usually get from TV.
That's just the vibe you usually get from New Jersey in general, I feel like.
Well, maybe. That may be true.
A little bit run down. I mean, not totally off, but hey. Okay. We got character.
Yeah. So he gets out of prison and immediately goes to a casino in Atlantic City where he runs into a blackjack dealer that he seems to know, who's wearing a name tag that I think says like Ruben or Ramon, but his name is actually Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, it's Ramon. It's Bernie Mac.
Yeah, Bernie Mac. Whatever happened to Bernie Mac?
I think he passed away.
Oh, shit, did he?
If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, now I feel bad. I kind of thought like he just sort of like fell off making things.
Well, he had his show for a while, like a sitcom.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He passed away just like a few years after this movie.
Oh, wow. What? It was 2008, just looking back now. And yeah, wow. I didn't realize that. But I think he was in probably the sequel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
Yeah. And he wants to, like, get him involved in some scheme, it seems like. And they're well, let's get a crew together. A gang, if you will.
A gang. Yes. Yes. Very, very.
I will say that
gang. A real motley crew.
We're probably like 7 minutes into the movie at this point. Yeah. And I feel like the first one, like, it took us like 30 minutes to get here.
Oh, absolutely. We skipped ahead of the, like, ladies giving massages to the lead characters, and then the guys going, scram, beat the road.
Yeah. Beat the road.
Get me another cocktail.
Calling people toots.
The next scene is probably the most important scene of the whole movie.
Okay, well, tell me.
We get the true star of the movie, Holly Marie Combs.
Oh my God, I know. I was like, they like showed her for just a minute, and I was like, is that Holly Marie Combs? And then they like showed her again, and I was like, that's Holly Marie Combs. And I was so excited because I thought she was like gonna be like in the movie, but she has literally like a line and a half, and then that's it.
Yeah, but she plays herself.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah, they're all playing themselves. They're like, because I saw so the scene is Brad Pitt is running some sort of like backroom poker training thing. For and then you see, first I saw Holly Marie Combs at the tape. Brad Pitt is Rusty. His character's name is Rusty. That's important because the other ones are playing themselves, not. So Brad Pitt is Rusty in this movie. He's like, one of the gang of, ruffians that George Clooney is trying to get together. But his deal is he's currently teaching a bunch of, like, I guess, sorry, Holly, but like B-list celebrities at this time, like TV show stars from the 90s.
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe this was when they were on TV. I don't know. The early aughts. 2001? Who knows?
2001. Oh, Charmed was still definitely on TV in 2001.
Okay, so this was people on TV at the time, because it's Barry Watson, who was on Seventh Heaven. It's playing himself. Joshua Jackson, who obviously Dawson's Creek was playing himself. Shane West from Walk to Remember, and from Once and Again, which I was probably the only person who watched. And Topher Grace playing himself as well. So they really gave Holly Marie Combs the least talking parts in this scene of basically it's basically supposed to be like, these people are terrible at blackjack, terrible at poker, they want to do the poker thing, the celebrity poker thing, and they can't, and Brad Pitt's teaching them and they still suck. So
I know, I do think this has one of my favorite lines in the movie where somebody goes, all reds, and lays down cards that mean absolutely nothing in poker.
It's over, Grace.
So good.
Me playing any sport.
Oh God, honestly.
Touchdown. This is baseball.
So George Clooney shows up, and he and Brad Pitt talk about the plan to, target 3 casinos and decide they need to meet with this guy in Vegas who's played by Elliot Gould, who it sounds like he used to have a casino and then like kind of got like pushed out of it by the current owner of these other 3 casinos.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Terry Benedict is the owner of the 3 casinos that they want to rob, which are the Mirage, the MGM Grand, and the Bellagio. And this guy has a bone to pick with him from his own past, with him being like muscled out of the, the strip, so to speak.
Yeah.
But they're going to bury the lead and give him this crazy plan, and then, woo him in at the end by saying Terry Benedict, which Terry Benedict just made me want an Eggs Benedict. I just love Eggs Benedict.
That'll be $25 right now. Oh, God. With the price of eggs.
Tony, shut your mouth.
So we get some scenes of the various guys that they're recruiting, which this is such a more effective structure to the plot where you have the two main guys being like, let's get together, let's get the gang together. And
yes,
here's our plan. And then you see the recruitments happening, because in the first movie, we just see a bunch of men interacting and being like, Danny Ocean wants to talk and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, why? I've been given no reason to understand any of these conversations. So I like that little flip of first we talk about the scheme, then we recruit.
I agree. And it makes more sense because in the first movie, everyone was just like, Danny Ocean, who's this? Like, have you heard about Danny Ocean? Like, that was their main goal, was they got to get involved with this guy. And it made no sense that anyone really cared that much. It was all this like grandiose nonsense. And the way they introduced everyone's backstory was so long and unnecessary.
Yeah.
And no one really had a real motivation in the first one.
Well,
besides Danny.
You don't really see their like specialties. And anyway, in this one, it's very like, as they're being introduced, they're doing their specialty.
Yes.
So you kind of like see what they're good at instantly.
Yeah.
Also, not everybody is a, 6 foot tall, blonde white man or brown haired white man. So there's like a little bit of help visually distinguishing between the characters.
Yes, and everyone has their own sort of thing, their own sort of vibe. So that was helpful too.
Don Cheadle being one of them, who they like managed to recruit him by saving him from being arrested during another bank robbery gone wrong.
Oh yeah. Yes. I thought that was interesting.
I did too. I found it hard to believe that Brad Pitt just like posed as some cop and like managed to pretend he was a more senior cop to the cop who was arresting Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
And was like, go get the other guy, blah, blah, blah. And then just like walked off with Don Cheadle, saving him from being arrested for bank robbery.
Yeah, just like cosplaying as a police officer.
Yes.
As a detective, just walked onto a scene. And he literally, that's exactly how the guy leaves. He's like, go get, Jonathan Sprouse. Is that a person?
Sure. I mean, probably.
And he's like, who? And he's like, get him. And the guy goes off. Where's he going?
Yeah, who knows?
Hey, boss, some random dude told me to come over here, and I let him hold on to the guy who we're going to arrest.
Also, Don Cheadle, he's not British, is he?
I don't know. I didn't think he was, and
I didn't think he was either.
I found his accent distracting.
Well, it was not what I expected. Okay, he's an American actor. It was not what I expected. And then he was speaking with a British accent the entire time. And I was like, it was kind of the whole time I was like, has he been doing American accents in everything else I've seen him in?
I had a moment of thinking that too when they first introduced him. His name is Basher in the movie, by the way, which is also, it kind of annoyed me. But he had that accent at the beginning, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe he's just been doing a really great American accent.
Yeah.
And then as the movie went on, I was like, there's no way. I had to look it up because I was like, this is very distracting. And they kept making him do these like strange little slang things like
oh my Jimmy Jams.
Yeah, yes, and then no one would know what they meant. And then he said like, it was annoying. Like he would say like, oh, I've got to get my apartment 52. And they'd be like, what? And they'd be like, my cancellation. That was a reference to a TV show that got canceled. It was like really weird shit like that. And it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just make a bomb.
Like doing diner talk.
Yes. They hired this other guy who does electronics who's like a nervous wreck. I liked him.
Yeah.
I don't remember who played
him.
And
then they go to the acrobat.
The acrobat, the amazing Yen.
Yes.
I like that when they go to the like show. It's like literally a show of like 12 Chinese acrobats, and George Clooney's like, why are we here? And he's like, oh, we're hiring the Chinese acrobat.
Yeah.
Duh. Then they hire Saul, who's played by Carl Reiner.
Carl Reiner, yeah. He's kind of like the elderly con man.
Mm-hmm. He's from Florida, and I liked his character a lot. I really thought, like, the whole time, I'm like, oh, they're going to have him die like the guy in the middle of the street.
Yes, I thought the same thing.
Because he kind of had that was the thing, like, he seemed a little older than everyone else, and while he was very much like, don't underestimate me, everyone did. And so it kind of made it feel like maybe he is unwell. But that was kind of his character too. So he was living a simple life with the dog races, though, now that he's married to someone who sells unmentionables at Macy's.
And then finally they recruit Matt Damon as a pickpocket. And my note, which I meant, so listeners, before we started recording, I mentioned to Matt that I may have been slightly inebriated while I watched this movie. Because the minute Matt Damon came on screen, I wrote down, do you think Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have explored each other's bodies?
Absolutely. It's probably been a very long time, but absolutely.
I mean, I think I've seen photos of one or both of them wearing those little, like, puka shell necklaces from the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, beyond 100%. And probably, like, denim, very, like, dark denim jeans, like, sagging.
Wide leg.
Some, like, white Calvin Kleins or something.
Yeah. So Danny Ocean sees him, like, pickpocket somebody on the train and then slips him a business card and is like, come get coffee with me, and tells him about this, deal to get rich quick, basically, and recruit Matt Damon that way, who's kind of the, like, new kid who, like, takes too many risks and doesn't necessarily follow direction kind of character, it seems like to me.
Yeah, because they knew his dad, it sounds like. I don't know if his dad is alive or dead or arrested or whatever, but they're all like, oh, you're so-and-so's kid. You're Tommy's kid, right? So
okay, yeah.
They worked with him, and, like, Matt Damon's got a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't respect the older guys. He thinks everything's easy peasy, Matt Damon squeezy, but it's actually the Clooney way.
The Clooney way. Oh, well, speaking of the Clooney way, they all meet in Vegas for a highly lucrative and highly dangerous heist overview. And George Clooney gives, like, an actual, like, PowerPoint presentation, like 3D modeling of all of the vaults that they're going to have to breach. Slightly more advanced than in 1960 when the whole plan involved them looking at a napkin.
Yes, yes. And this time it's one vault for all three casinos.
Yes.
Which is, again, much more reasonable than 5 separate vaults during Auld Lang Syne.
Yes. So this is where we get the scene that I thought if I had to pick the quote for the beginning of the episode, I would have used, because George Clooney says, once you get down the shaft, it's a piece of cake. And I was like, preach, girl.
Amen. Ain't that the truth?
But the plan is to walk out with $150 million in cash. And first, unlike the first movie, well, I guess the first movie, they kind of, like, go to Vegas and do, like, there's a lot of scenes of people, like, sticking a quarter in a machine and looking around a room. But, like, the reconnaissance. Reconnaissance.
God. The first movie, there's a lot of this. This in the background. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. And, like, just folks just kind of walking around in slow motion for, like, 22-minute montages.
Yeah, this one is a little bit more effective of, like, we get a narrator, George Clooney, being like, we need to look at the cash carts, and we see, like, cash carts roll by, and, like, look at the security guards, and we see a shot of security guards. So it's, like, it's showing us the reconnaissance instead of just, like, letting us assume what's going on.
Yes, and it's, like, the quick scenes, and, we see them doing the actual things, and, like, actually trying to be discreet, not just, like, walking around a casino, happening not to be noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more, and now they have to, like, get around security cameras and things like that for this movie, obviously.
Yeah, much more advanced technology this time.
Exactly. But it's more fun. I forgot to mention they hired, like, these two brothers, one of which is Casey Affleck, and they're, like, kind of, like, bumbling idiots and, like, the dopey comic relief every once in a while. So
yeah,
they're, like, the people who kind of, like, do all the disguises and getting around and traveling through the movie and getting people from places to places.
Yeah.
The acrobat is going to hide inside of, like, a small thing to get inside of a safe. They're going to build a safe. They're going to literally build a whole safe, they said.
A replica of the safe. Yeah, to practice with.
I love that.
Seems
I
a
love
little
that plan.
Seems a little intense to rebuild an entire vault, but sure.
Well, listen, it's 2001. It's the millennium. It's the millennium. They're getting it together. We survived Y2K, and now they have the technology to like zoom and enhance on TV. They have the technology to do these high-tech computer programs that map out these inside replicas. They can build the vault. If you build, they will come.
There you go.
And you know it's high-tech when one of the parts of their plan is for, as they like, are trying to distract people to tap into the camera system, they have the two brothers meet each other in the middle of a casino and argue over balloons.
That made me die.
And then the guy like lets go of the balloons while they're arguing and like covers the camera system.
Yeah.
Very high tech.
I mean, I don't like the ceilings in casinos, the newer ones in Vegas. I feel like the ceilings are so high that I don't think you could do that and then get the balloons down without getting a ladder out.
Well, listen, this is Atlantic City.
Wait, no, they're in Vegas.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Damn.
Atlantic City, no problem.
Yeah, where it's a little bit like ragamuffin.
Yeah. So let's see. So we almost have a near failure to launch, where the guy who like hacks into the surveillance system has a map that he's written on his hand in pen for like getting around the inside security area, and then he like is sweaty, nervous, and like wipes his hand on his head and like so loses the map, and then also has ink on his forehead and almost gets caught, but the guy was just like, hey, wait, and he starts walking faster, but it's just to like hand him a scanner or something that he dropped. So crisis narrowly averted.
I was like, oh my god, this is giving me like Severance vibes getting out of the hallway.
Oh my god, seriously. So then we get a scene where Bernie Mac is buying like the vans for transporting people around. Mm-hmm. And there's like a weird scene where he like the two Affleck brothers, I think, are like, I know they're not the Affleck brothers, but right, they're not both Afflecks, right?
No. One was Casey Affleck, the other one was played by someone named Scott Conn.
Okay. They're like bouncing up and down on a van while Bernie Mac is talking to the like owner of the dealership, which seems so strange to me. Mm-hmm. But Bernie Mac like holds his hand when he goes to shake his hand, and he's like, you've got some lovely hands here. You moisturize? And like keeps holding on to his hand. It was a weird scene. I did not really understand what was happening here.
He was like squeezing his hand harder and like...
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, and like trying to intimidate him while he was like talking like, oh, you're gonna give me a deal, aren't you? Da, 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 and trying to intimidate him with the two guys jumping in the van and be like, I don't want to mess with these guys kind of thing.
Okay, I got it. The elderly con man is going to pose as like an expensive client at the hotel, like a high net worth client, to kind of like get a little bit of access, like to like lock up his belongings and stuff. And that's how they're going to, I think, like sneak in the acrobat, is they're going to have him hide in the thing that he like locks in the vault, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And they're going to have it like, they're sneaking him into the vault inside of like, whatever cart of like one of the carts that Benedict uses to, put his expensive things in the vault or whatever.
Yeah.
And the acrobat is going to hide in there. But the reason they're going to have access to going inside of the vault and like getting some of the equipment into the vault that they need to, do what they need to do and make the explosion happen on the vault is they're going to get that suitcase of bombs, basically, disguised as gems, into the vault by saying they're, like, expensive gems that need to be, like, held in Benedict's personal vault by this very high, expensive, important client.
Okay, I did not understand that the gems were bombs. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, they made the gems, and then those were the things on the inside that, like, the acrobat sets up.
Got it. Okay.
That's why it was a problem when it didn't go exactly according to plan.
Okay. Yes. So this is when we first meet Julia Roberts, who is Danny Ocean, aka George Clooney's ex-wife, and she is now, it seems like, in a relationship with the casino owner, whose name I forget. What's his name?
Benedict.
Oh, that's
is his
Benedict.
last name.
Okay. Oh, right. Benedict.
Ex-Benedict. Terry Benedict. Terry Benedict, and her name is Tess in this movie. Tess Ocean. Still.
Tess Ocean.
Yeah.
I don't. Her character, like, I love Julia Roberts. I didn't feel like her character was really necessary for the movie.
I think I was wrong. She's obviously not one of the 11. From the end of the last movie,
right.
I thought she was. But I think in Ocean's 12, she becomes the 12th one.
Oh, okay.
And maybe someone else is like interchanged out, possibly. I'm not sure. And then in 13, I think they add somebody else too, and she remains, or she's not on it anymore. She was, I think the movie's attempt to have a female character with some sort
with some agency
instead of like what you see in the other one. However, I think it's unclear by the end exactly if she was necessary.
Yeah.
She's the one who gives us the line I used at the very beginning. I love a sassy comeback like that. Mm-hmm. And she definitely has the same sort of cadence and speech patterns and sassy sort of back and forth that Danny Ocean has pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That she was written well in that way as a compliment to Danny. But yes, now she's with Benedict, who is played by Andy Garcia.
Yes. Yeah.
And now we know why Danny wants to go to these 3 hotels.
Yes,
Surprise,
exactly.
surprise.
Oh, Danny. So there's something at like a power plant where they have to do like a little mini heist at a power plant, and Matt Damon almost ruins everything.
Oh, right. Yes, because he has to go in because he's not waiting in the car. Because they tell him to wait in the car for something. And he's like, I want to be involved.
Right.
And he runs in and everyone else is gone. And then they have to go back for him.
Yes. And I think this has something to do with like originally they were going to just knock the power to the specific casinos. And now they're like, let's knock the power to the whole city. And somehow this little mini heist is involved in that. I didn't quite catch exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, I think they needed to get some sort of generator, and they can take this generator of some sort. You know, I'm not a what's the word? Engineer? Who knows? I don't know these things, but they have this big generator thing. What'd you say?
Electrician?
Sure. It was a big green glowing thing like you'd see in a Marvel movie. So I don't know if it's very real, but anyway. Yeah. They pulled out this big generator thing. And this is also the scene where, because of Matt Damon's not respecting the old dogs, he also causes an injury to the acrobat who gets his hand slammed in the door. And obviously his whole role is to like be an acrobat and use his hands.
But he ends up being fine. Like nothing.
Well, it does come into
sort
play.
of. Okay. There's like a scene where Matt Damon poses as like the new Nevada Gambling Commission and basically raises concern about Bernie Mac, because Bernie Mac is one of the blackjack dealers, posing as a blackjack dealer.
To be on the inside.
Yeah. And talks to Benedict and tells him that, Frank, aka Bernie Mac, is like embezzling or whatever, he's a problem, etc. And so they like pull him into a room, and Bernie Mac has a great line where he's like complaining about white people or whatever, and talking about how he plays blackjack or deals blackjack, and he's like, might as well call it white jack.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
They cause a little like scuffle in Matt Damon pickpockets something from Andy Garcia. I think it's like maybe an access card.
Yeah, he pickpockets an access card, acting like he's afraid of Bernie Mac.
Yes.
And this is all also a distraction, whether they know it or not, because this is when Danny goes to meet Tess.
Yes.
And like they have their little, she's thinking she's meeting Benedict on a date, and then he shows up and she's like, you should leave, and oh, don't you know what's going on? And they have a very like quick-witted zip zap boom bam, I'll have what she's having conversation. But I do really like some of the lines in this. Like they're totally like unrealistic of a conversation. But she said they're talking about 2 different painters, I guess, Monet and Manet. I didn't know there was 2, by the way. And I like the line, like he's like, oh, one did this and one had this kind of scandal, right? And she's like, they also painted occasionally.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. They have good chemistry, those two.
Oh, they really, really do. I love the moment when, I mean, I like also the line when he's like, trying to show like, oh, don't you want me back kind of thing. Why are you with Benedict? And he's like, does he make you laugh? And she's like, he doesn't make me cry. And I was like, ooh. Me and David looked at each other and were like,
sick burn, Julia Roberts.
The library is closed.
Yeah. Okay, so...
But then Terry shows up and interrupts this whole thing.
Yes.
Let's see.
There's a scene that
standoff. Andy Garcia and George Clooney, and then I was like, now he's like exposed himself. Now he's like totally exposed himself as like someone to be watching.
Yeah. And is this why he starts getting beat up by a guy named Bruiser?
Yes. Well, because now he's kind of made himself known to Terry as like someone that's in the casino that's sort of like interfering with his love life. And I think the whole thing here is Terry starts to become suspicious that the whole reason he was called away is kind of like strange that would happen, and then Danny would show up. So now he's like extra suspicious of him. So now when anything else happens, he's like, oh, he's the issue.
Yeah, okay.
Which will, play out in that. But
yep.
This was kind of cool. I don't think it was necessary for the movie, but there was a explosion of a hotel. Like they blew up a hotel called Xanadu, and we got to see it on camera, which is cool. It was just a cool like cinematic shot.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is when they come up with that alternative plan for the generator and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The pinch, and then they have the slamming of the hand of the acrobat. Okay, so then Okay, so here we go. Now we find out that Danny Ocean has been red flagged at the hotel by all the staff. So every time he's on camera, they're going to be watching him, especially.
Yes.
So that's what it is. That's what that causes to happen. His little scuffle, his little argument with Eggs Benedict.
Yes.
And then this also causes Brad Pitt's character, Rusty, I think his name is, to get all pissed off at Danny Ocean and be like, you are being reckless. You're not following the plan. He says this like in front of everybody. And he's like, you are emotionally involved. This is all about Tess, and you're out. You're out. Danny Ocean, see you later. Matt Damon, you're going to do the stuff that Danny was going to do. Are you in? And of course, since Matt Damon's like eager to like please Brad Pitt, he's like, yes. And then there's a scene where he's like, okay, don't worry, you got this. You can like, take care of everything. Just make sure under any circumstances you don't. And then he gets distracted and walks away. Let's see. Oh, and then we see Saul. He doesn't seem like he's doing very well.
Yeah, he seems like he's about to like pass out or something, which it ends up being like subterfuge.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, oh no, I want him to be the character that's like, stop underestimating me and let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Why do we have to make the oldest character the one who's ill? But again, it is all subterfuge, which is good because, he kind of gets... I was like, oh no, he gets recognized by some random, like, Boca Raton retiree.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, Saul! And he's like, using a fake name. I was like, this random guy, like, straight off the set of The Nanny is gonna blow the cover.
Yes.
But luckily, it just is a red herring. It doesn't do anything.
Because he faints, and Brad Pitt poses as a doctor to, like, take care of him, and this is when they like maybe kind of like switch over the surveillance cameras to looking at the fake vault, I think.
Yes, and then this is also, this distraction has the brothers sneaking in the serving tray thing,
the acrobat,
with the casino, with the acrobat inside. So they kind of like sneak in as like workers of the hotel with him. So all of this kind of happens at once. And at the same time as all this is happening, Danny is in the hotel, like, watching Tess.
Yeah.
And then, like, the people who are watching Danny see him seeing Tess, and now they're, like, on his trail.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of stuff happening. It's very hot, fast-paced. Unlike the old movie where we see 25 minutes of people spray painting random shit.
Yes, exactly.
Invisible ink.
I feel like if I were Eggs Benedict in this moment where it was like the Nevada Gambling Commission has shown up, my girlfriend's ex-husband who's a con man has shown up, this rich guy has fainted in the like the entryway to the vault or whatever. Like I would be like, security, shut everything down. Like, lock everything down right now, and don't, like, there are too many things happening.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
The gambling commission guy situation alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because they just arrested somebody, in his mind, if he believes the ruse, they just arrested somebody who was, like, a criminal.
Exactly.
That they hired.
Right. So, Don Cheadle blows the city's power and all the lights go out. And this is when the acrobat escapes the trolley cart and like does some backflips because he can't touch the floor, and places the bombs on the door to the vault. And I think because of his hand injury, he like almost isn't able to get away from the door before they blow it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that might happen later. I think this is the part when where George Clooney and what's his name?
Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, thank you. Damon meets, it is Matt Damon, I'm sorry. This is when George Clooney and Matt Damon go down the shaft. The shaft.
Yes.
They get down there. We find out that the whole argument was staged. This was all supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Danny was never out of it. This was like all part of the plan, and he was also like getting himself. Oh, that was the whole thing. Danny got himself into the room to get beat up by Bruiser for following Tess. That was the reason he was in the room getting beat up until Benedict can go talk to him, which was supposed to be quickly, but it ended up being long because he got distracted. But Bruiser ends up being friends with Danny, and Danny sneaks out. So Danny and Damon sneak down during the blackout. The guy does his flips during the blackout, and yes, he gets stuck in the door because of the magnet gem, the magnet gem, and his hand injury. And I really that was very intense. I thought he was gonna get hurt.
I did too, because George Clooney has a line, there's a 95-pound Chinese man and $165 million behind this door. And like they go to like press the detonator, but it like doesn't work a couple times.
Oh my God, yes, that's right.
They're like worried that like everything is going to go wrong, but then the acrobat gets away from the door, they blow it open, and they're in the vault.
The best part of that was the whole reason it didn't work is because they were the batteries.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, is this a Duracell ad?
Yeah. So he's okay. I wrote down a line that I can't remember who says it or about what, but somebody has a line that is the sexiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it was money. It was a bunch of money.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I was like, who's sexy? The acrobat?
Ruben, maybe?
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. All the money flying all over the place when they blow up the vault thing.
Yes.
And let's see.
Then he calls Eggs Benedict on the phone and is like, this is the man who's robbing you. And I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you tell somebody that you're in the process of robbing them?
Oh, that's right. This is when the movie started to come back. Like, I was watching and kind of remembering the broad strokes, and then this is when like the really full plot of the movie came back to me in this moment.
Okay, explain it to me.
Yeah, so he's explaining what's happening. He says, you had $160 million. We took $80 million already. We are going to get out of here because you're going to let us out. Because if you don't let us out, we're going to blow up all the money in the safe where it's all rigged. So if we find out that you're not going to let us leave with the money and you're going to like help facilitate that, then all that money is getting blown up anyway. And all the money we have, we're going to make it blow up. We're going to blow it up in the truck anyway. So either you help us get out with the $80 million in secret and we won't tell anybody and you could keep your pride, or you
lose it all.
So that's your plan, because they're basically saying like, we know we can't get out without your help, but you're going to help us get out. So that's kind of like their thing.
The plan. Okay.
And they're like, well, he's like, fine, good for you. I'll help you. But, and he gives like, Andy Garcia gives like a run and hide speech. Like, you'll get out of here, but you'll never get free of me, because the second you're out of here and done with this, so you're dead.
Yeah. And
he's like, and we're not going to like put you in prison. We're going to torture you and kill you. But
yeah.
So he basically says like, in the meantime, they call in the background a SWAT team to get into the vault.
Yes.
And they're like, we're going to do our own thing. we're going to hire a SWAT team and we'll bamboozle them and we're going to get our money. The SWAT team gets down there. There's a huge explosion and they're like, oh my God, we lost everything in the safe. And then they have off-site, they're watching the van that's supposed to have all the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that van also explodes.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my God, we just lost all the money. But then when they look at all the quote unquote money that's like flying all around from the explosions, it's like Vegas strip mall, like the strip ads.
The cards that people pass out on the Vegas Strip. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no actual bills. So they're like, WTF, WTF. And they find out that basically all the footage that they were watching was old archived footage. And it had already happened. They had already got out with the money. And the people who they sent in, or not that they had already gotten out with the money, they never blew up the money. I think they were showing them footage from the vault that they built.
Yes.
Like a lot of the stuff that they were watching that they thought was like their money blowing up and stuff was actually was actually footage from the vault that they built. And so it looked real, but it wasn't real. And the only way they could tell the difference because they just had recently installed something that the team didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's right. And then they realized like, oh my God, they got out with all the money, but how did they do it? And it turns out that the SWAT team that they called was actually a rerouting. They had like hacked into the phone system, rerouted the call out to them instead of 911. They didn't actually send a SWAT team. It was just them in SWAT team gear taking the actual money.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they basically called them in to go steal the money.
Exactly.
So they did facilitate the whole thing.
That's true.
Without even really knowing it. But by that time they figure it out, they're gone. They're
gone. And then Julia Roberts gets a phone call to turn to channel 88, and it's George Clooney, and he says that I'll give to Eggs Benedict, I'll give you your money back if you give up Tess.
That's right, because he snuck back. Everyone else is gone. He snuck back into the room getting beat up, quote unquote beat up. And now he's being confronted by Benedict after all of this. Like, are you involved?
Yes.
How could I be involved? I was getting beat up by Bruiser.
Yes. Even though he wasn't. That was all part of the plan.
Yeah. But he suspects Danny is involved somehow. He's like, I know you're involved somehow. I'm going to figure it out. I just don't know how. And he's like, hey, maybe I can help you if you... And he gives him that ultimatum. Because now he thinks, okay, he's going to confess and tell me how...
Right.
How he did it and who did it. So he's like, if you give me Tess, would you get rid of Tess if you can get all the money back?
Yeah. And then he gets arrested for 3 to 6 months while the rest of the guys all get away with it.
3 to 6 months he's getting arrested, but it's only for a parole violation because he's away because of course he said I had nothing to do with it. I was getting beat up. And since he said in the meantime, I would give it all up for Tess, on the security footage, which Julia Roberts watches on Channel 88, because as Andy Garcia, Mr. Benedict, said earlier in the movie, there's always someone watching in my hotels. So Tess gets to see him say, like, he would, take all his money back. $160 million for her, which, by the way, I'm sorry, girl. Like, that's a lot of money. You should understand.
Honestly.
I'd be like, I would say the same thing. We've been dating for less than a year. But anyway, she's very upset by this, of course, because, whatever. But the whole thing of it that was so, like, disappointing for Benedict was after he says, like, I'd give up Tess, Danny's like, okay, I'll help you. I know a guy who could you give me the details, so find whoever did this. And he's like, yeah, you idiot. So then he walks out of the hotel, he's getting arrested for the time, but Benedict is walking out of the elevator to see Tess, not realizing he's been exposed on camera to what he said, and she's like, goodbye, and he's like, wait, why? And she's like, you should know, in your hotel, someone's always watching.
Ooh.
So he's lost it all. He's lost all his money, he lost the girl, lost it all. Yep. We don't even know if he was really a bad guy.
Right.
To be honest, by the end of it, all he did was date someone that had a jealous ex. And a criminal record. So he loses it all. And there's a scene where the other guys all walk out onto the strip, and there's like fountains in the background going off and music, and it's very reminiscent, sort of, I think, of the first movie when they...
For sure.
The ending scene. And meanwhile, like, he finds out he's getting 3 to 6 months, and Julia Roberts runs out to him at the car before that scene, by the way, and is like,
yes,
oh, it's like they have a moment where he's like getting arrested, and she's like, I'll wait for you this time. It's only 3 to 6 months or something like that. And I'm like, Girl, why?
I know.
You don't need either of them. This shouldn't
Honestly
convince you to go back to him. It convinces you to maybe like take some time to live, laugh, love. I think she does that later.
Yeah.
I think she takes some time under the Tuscan. Oh no, that's Diane Lane. She does live, laugh, love, right?
Yeah,
She's that lady.
I think so. Or she either lived, laughed, loved, or she loved under the Tuscan sun. I don't remember.
She was definitely a stepmom. So anyway, so she does that, and then they go 3 to 6 months later, and it's Brad Pitt picking up George Clooney, and they have like, is this when they have that little like, I hope you were at a wedding, or I hope you were the husband, or something?
Yeah, I think so.
They like make fun of each other's clothes, and then he's like, someone's here for you, and it's Julia Roberts in the back seat in her sunglasses and it's beach ready wear, and they're like, all right, off we go, and they leave, followed by like the Bebop and Rocksteady characters from before that.
Yes.
Walked him over to the hotel. So he's still being followed by ex-Benedict's people.
Yeah.
It probably will be for the upcoming movies, who knows. But that is where we end. Them riding off into the Tuscan sun with Diane Lane.
There was just a couple of fun pieces of trivia that I stumbled upon that so most of this was filmed at the Bellagio, and the Bellagio gave the crew like full access to the casino basically for like filming, and even let them tap into their security system to get real security footage of the casino.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
Is pretty surprising that they did that, but yeah, really cool. And apparently Don Cheadle was uncredited in this first movie because he wanted title billing along with George Clooney, Matt Damon, and Brad Pitt, and they refused him, and so he refused to be credited at all. But then he got title billing for Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13.
Wow.
And there was one more thing that I thought was kind of fun. Let's see. Oh, he did say that his Cockney accent wasn't very good and he wanted to change it for the sequels, but his agent said no.
Oh my God. I'm glad you realized it. Listen, try it. I get it, you know?
Yeah.
I read that Julia Roberts and George Clooney had not met before filming this movie together.
Oh, really? That's actually really surprising to me. They came across as like, I mean, obviously they're actors, but like it seemed like they were so comfortable with each other that I would have guessed they would have worked together before.
100%. When you mentioned their chemistry, I was gonna like look back and see who like had they worked together on movies before, because I was just sure it had to have been that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know if I had anything else like too interesting. I thought it was just cool to have all the cameos from the characters from like the WB11 TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
I did read that some of the original cast members were in this as cameos, but I didn't see who they were.
It was kind of a couple, like Angie Dickinson was in it, but I forget who her cameo was. And then the guy he was kind of like not memorable to me in the first movie. He was like one of the 11, but he kind of like had big cheekbones. He kind of looked a little skeletal. He was in just for like 30 seconds in this movie.
Oh, okay. I knew that I had seen that. And this would have been fun. I just read this, that Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson were going to play the brothers, Virgil and Turk.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, but they dropped out to do Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a great movie.
Interesting.
Have you seen the Royal Tenenbaums?
I have not. I know. I haven't. Okay, so let's talk ratings.
IMDb gives this a 7.7.
All right, okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 83%, and the audience popcorn meter is 80% even.
All right, interesting. Just for comparison, the first one had a 6.5 for IMDb, so a full 0.2 lower. Mm-hmm. And the tomato meter was 47 compared to this one's 83.
Yeah, definitely an improvement there.
Yeah.
Which I would agree with.
We both gave the last one a 2 because we just thought it was dreadfully boring. I'm going to give this one a 7. Like, I was fully entertained. I wasn't like obsessed with the movie, but I was like entertained. It moved quickly. They like did, the effects were good. The dialogue was good. They kept it moving. I never felt bored. So I would say a solid 7.
Nice. I'm going to give it a 7.8.
Okay.
I really liked it. I don't have a lot of complaints. It was a true, like, definition of what a reboot should be. I feel like it really made the necessary improvements. The plan was more streamlined and believable, even though it's an unbelievable plan from the first one. The characters were more unique. They had some sort of female like representation in the movie. A little bit. I enjoyed the little cameos throughout the movie. Pardon me. I thought the pace was so much better. Like
a million times better.
Gosh, like the planning, the way they did the filming of the planning, like as he was saying it, and then you didn't have to see it happen again. Like it was very well done and smart. Some of the dialogue was a little bit corny, and I thought the Matt Damon sort of like wanting to be like with them was such an unnecessary part of the plot. And I thought it was kind of like distracting and just hard to understand some of that kind of stuff. Some of those like, inner things. So that's why I wouldn't give it like the highest rating. And it's just not my like type of movie that I would go like crazy for. Like it's not the type of movie that I'm going on like YouTube afterwards and trying to find out Easter eggs and different things. Yeah. And while I wouldn't mind seeing one of the other Ocean's movies, I'm not like racing.
Exactly.
You know,
I also it's funny to me. I was just looking up the runtime for this and the original. So the original was only 9 minutes longer than so the original was 9 minutes longer than the 2001 version, which is shocking because I would have said it was a solid 20 to 25 minutes longer than this one.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Just shows
it just shows you how much more you can do with it.
Yes. Wow, what an unnecessary waste of time they spent in the first movie.
I wonder if it's because there was like 4 different singing scenes for no fucking reason.
Oh my god, and they were all Ain't That a Kick in the Head. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Well, it's definitely a beauty for me.
Oh yeah. I would say it's a beauty.
Goes
for
without
sure.
saying.
Awesome.
Well, I thought this was great, and listeners, next week we're gonna take a little trip. If you listened last week, we mentioned this piece of media briefly, and it inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go down to the world of Bewitched next week.
Yes, we're gonna watch a couple episodes, like an episode with one Darren and then the other Darren, and then we'll do the Nicole Kidman movie as the reboot.
Yeah, which I'm very excited to do because I'll just say now, of the series Bewitched, I'm a huge fan.
Oh, beyond. Such a big fan of Bewitched. I have never seen the Nicole Kidman movie though, so I'm pretty excited about that. And it's been a long time since I've seen the TV show Bewitched, so all of it is going to be kind of a either new or revisiting experience for me.
Same. It's been a really long time since the show for me for sure. And I don't know if I've seen the movie because I know I've seen Nicole Kidman in The Stepford Wives.
Okay.
Which is another reboot we have to do at some point.
Yeah.
And it was around the same time. So I will find out if I've seen it probably when we start watching it.
And I feel like I had heard that it was not great, which is kind of surprising because like I had, at least contemporarily, Nicole Kidman can do no wrong. Granted, she's always playing opposite the wind and just wrapping a big cardigan around herself, but
Heartbreak feels great. It's like now.
Yeah. But I'm so curious to see Bewitched, the movie with her. So this will be a fun couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know that now. Nicole Kidman has definitely become a cultural icon.
Yes,
and there's no time I walk into a movie theater and don't think that Heartbreak doesn't feel good in a place like this. I do remember that there was a long period of time before my current feelings for Nicole Kidman where she was doing movies that were very questionable.
Yeah. Well, in the Tom Cruise era.
Yes. Yeah. So be that, we'll see.
Yes, we'll see.
Let me pull up my ending. I forgot him first. Okay. Well, in the meantime, did you know that if you want to support us, it costs you $0.0 a month. You could just support our podcast by rating and reviewing it on whatever your platform you're listening to us on now.
That's right. And do you know what else is absolutely free? Is telling a friend about our podcast, because word of mouth is huge.
Yes, and you can also follow us for free on social media at RebootyPod on Instagram. Email us at rebootypod@gmail.com. We love hearing your feedback, and we love hearing your recommendations for future episodes as well.
That's right. And if you wanted to do something that maybe wasn't free but is definitely cheap and fun, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/nandmatt. You can support us for as little as $1 a month, up to $7 whole a month, where we do monthly, usually movie reviews. We have a good back catalog where we've played a bunch of games, so you should check it out.
Yeah, and thank you so much for listening to Rebooty and the Beast.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.